Hi everyone, welcome to my April completed pages video. I have 9 pages to show you this time. I had a lot of fun with more spring themed pages, so let's get into it. Okay, so my first one is going to be Wonderland Animals. That's what I've been calling it, although I have seen it under some other names too. Premium Animals in the Fairyland. But the artwork is by Chiaki Karamomo. And I purchased this book from 70 East Books. I've also seen it on a few sellers on Etsy too. So, if you're looking for this book, maybe try a couple of those different names. All right, I did this cute little cat. All right, to this one. And I liked all the little party decorations, the bows in here. And let's see, I try to match the colors as best as I can with the original artwork, and I'll show you that. So here is the artist print. Now, I did add some shading. I felt like it needed just a little bit more to make certain things pop a little bit. And as you can see, this one doesn't have any shading. So yeah, I definitely added shading in through here on the balloons. Yeah, see, it helped with the dimension of the little ruffles there around the pillow too. So I based everything with alcohol markers, Prismacolors for shading, and then fine liners to get into little small details like that. White Posca for highlights and to outline around there. Also, there's these little like circle done with little dots. So that I was copying off of this also. And the background was done with pan pastels. Now, as I'm looking at this now, I don't remember it being so blotchy before. I think I only used like 1 or 2 layers of pan pastels, and I probably could have done like another layer to get it a little bit more smooth or, not so textured. But I think the fixative really kind of change the texture a little bit, which is fine. It doesn't bother me, but I'm just saying I think it was the fixative that made it a little bit more like dotty and textured looking. My favorite part, I think, is the eyes. I think the eyes turned out really good. And I always like the challenge of recreating something. It's fun to me to try to match the colors. All right, so one more time with the artist one, and then there's mine. All right, so there's that one. All right, the next page is going to come from Birds in the Forest by Denyse Klette. This is her newest book, and it's super cute. So for my first page, I did this one. I think I was in the Easter mode of just thinking of eggs and things like that, so this one was perfect. It's this like grumpy bird sitting on top of the eggs. Yeah, he's looking, I don't know if it's bored or he's annoyed that he or she has to like sit on top of all these eggs. I did the background in oil pastels, alcohol marker base for everything else, and then color pencil shading. If you want to see how I did the process, I do quick little bits of certain things here and there, and then a full video of how I do the background. You can check that out. I'll put a link down in the description for you. Yeah, I just love how the colors turn out. The oil pastel always comes out so bright and vibrant. And I take inspiration from the artist. I love how the colors she uses for the flowers and the leaves. Obviously, the background was inspired by the front cover background. But yeah, such a fun book. Excited to do more things in here. Oh, and I did spray with a fixative afterwards because of the oil pastel. And I don't mind how the pages feel after the fixative with this. It makes it feel very smooth. So yeah, not bad on this book. Okay, there is Birds in the Forest. All right, so the next page is going to be from Grains of Gold by Hanna Karlzon. This is kind of her compilation of a lot of her illustrations plus 11 new ones. So I did these 2 little chicks. I wanted the eggs to be golden because I just felt like these chicks look like they came from golden eggs with their crowns on and stuff. So yeah, definitely needed some golden eggs. The background is done with Inktense, and I used 2 to 3 layers of the Inktense. So, you know, use the Inktense, activated with water, let dry, and then went over it again. And that was just to try to get that intensity that I wanted without a lot of like the texture lines. The flowers were also done with an Inktense base and then polychromos for shading. I used some metallic markers inside the flowers here, and then some gold metallic watercolor for like the crowns and the eggs. I'm not sure if I really love how I did the eggs. I mean, I like that they're golden, but I'm not sure if I like how I did them. And then also the gems, I'm not super happy with them. They look too milky, not like vibrant enough for me. But I like the colors. I like how I matched like the purples in there. Kept it a fairly simple color palette. But yeah, I think it's like very springtime to me with the yellow and green, but yet because they're wearing crowns, it seems very like royal to me too. All right, so, oh, and I did do, as you can see, the little gold flecks and the gold and white flecks in the background too. I kept the chicks pretty simple, not a lot of texture. I just felt like there was a lot going on, and I honestly just didn't really want a lot of feather texture. so I didn't. So there we go. But I still think it turned out pretty good. All right, so there is that one. All right, next page is going to be from Universum. This is Maria Trolle's compilation book. So a lot of different illustrations from all her different books, plus some new artwork in here. And I did this page, a sweet little bunny in a field of flowers. I did look up all the flowers. She lists them in the back, which is super helpful if you want to color things or just want to know what kind of flowers that were used. And you don't have to color them like they are in nature. But that just kind of helped me set my color palette. So yeah, I wanted the background to be really light and like soft looking. So I used Ohuhu art markers. These are like a water-based marker, like a Tombow, but they are a lighter one. Let's see. Yeah, so these are all like more of a pastel set. And I used them like a watercolor. So I rubbed the marker on like a plastic sheet and then used a water brush to pick that up and then apply it to the page. It almost looks like a chalk pastel. Because of the paper, you don't necessarily get like the watercolor look, but I still like it. I like how it's kind of a little bit feathered around the edges. All right, sorry, my lighting doesn't look like it is very good right now. All right, let's see if that's better. Yeah, it's kind of washed out, but it's there. All right. So yeah, so the water brush pens for the background, and then I used the tip of the marker just to create these grass lines in the background. Everything else was done with color pencils. I used Brutfeners and Black Widow pencils. Paint pens for inside some of these flowers here. And I think that's it. So yeah, the bunny, I did do a little bit more for texture. It's not perfect, but I really wanted to add some purples and peaches inside that fur just to kind of help coordinate with all the flowers. So yeah, this one turned out good. Again, nice like spring themed, but not as like vibrant as the birds in the forest. All right, next page will be from Ivy and the Inky Butterfly. This is by Johanna Basford. And in this book, I am coloring in order. So I was up to this page. These kind of antique looking brooches. And I was wanting to go for that kind of brassy metal look because that's what I thought of when I was thinking of like antique brooches. And then this one I made silver. I like the way some of the gems turned out. Like I think these turned out really pretty. This center one and then this one turned out pretty good. And I think like the brassy, the metal parts look pretty good. So some things I'm not real happy with. I don't know if I liked my color choices with that one. And I don't know why I always try to do like this amber color gem and it just never turns out like it looks super shiny. So don't know what I'm doing wrong there, but anyway, overall I think it looks pretty good. Okay, so what I did was I took a really cheap white acrylic paint. This came in a set at, I don't know, there was probably like 20 different colors or so. I bought it for a school project. And the paint was super thin. So I ended up bringing the paint home because it didn't work for the project. But I thought, well, that white might be good for coloring books because normally, you know, you might have to water the white down. So you don't want to completely cover the black lines, but you just want them to be really faint. So that is what I used for this. And yeah, it worked really well. I didn't have to water it down. It was thin enough. And I'm trying to think if I used 2 coats or not. Maybe on some areas I had to go over it a couple times, but I think for the most part, I think I just did 1 coat. All right, and then I used polychromos for the coloring and white Posca for the highlights here. A Hoo art marker, that is the water-based marker again for I was trying to do a shadow effect, and some of them came out a little bit more inconsistent. Like this one turned out nice and light in some areas, like this is nice and light in here, and I think that's just because of the acrylic paint. It just made it a little bit more inconsistent, but not a big deal. And then I used a gray distress ink for kind of creating this like aged looking paper. So yeah, that is it for Ivy and the Inky Butterfly. All right, next page is going to be from Nice Little Town 4 by Tanya, Bogema, Stolova. And I did a color and chat video on this page. So I'm going to be taking a little break from coloring next month, and I explain in this video why. Basically, I have 2 kids graduating next month, one from high school, one from college. And then my son is going to be having some pretty major skull and spine surgery, and that should be happening in June. So not sure how much I'll be coloring in between those events. But I'll link that video in the description below if you want to hear more on that and what is going on in my life. So And then I also just posted a video on how I did this bokeh background, which I learned from another colorist on Instagram and YouTube named Coloring Park. The title is Pastel Bokeh Background. She does a lot of these bokeh backgrounds with these hexagon shapes, which I just thought made it look really unique. And then let's see, so I used alcohol marker base, and the color and chat video, that's basically what I'm doing, is just coloring with marker at first, and then it's color pencils on top, which I think I did that off camera, and then a white gel pen and Posca. So yeah, if you want to see more in depth of how I did any of that, then you can check out those videos. I loved how she looks like she's spring cleaning, and I feel like this could be an ad for some kind of allergy medicine, because with the dust coming up and then the bee, like the flowers, it just seemed like there was a lot of pollen and dust in the air. But yeah, so, but I still think it's a pretty effect back there. Yeah, so very spring colors. I love the oranges and the yellows together, and then this nice green ground. Typical dad, right? Mom's doing the work, dad's like chilling. Maybe he mowed the grass, so maybe I shouldn't be too hard on him. All right, so there is that one. Oh, and before I forget, so I forgot to say in my other videos from this page that I do use a fixative. It is Karlzon Workable Fixative, and I sprayed it at the very end, like when I was finished with everything. You could spray it just after you finish the chalk pastels, but it wasn't really getting in my way, so I just waited to the end. You just don't want it to be where your hand's going to be rubbing up against any of the designs and erasing some of those circle shapes. But in this case, it wasn't. So yeah, so definitely want to use that to help protect it. Okay, there is that one. All right, next page is going to be from Disney Mandalas by Hachette Heroes. And this isn't a spring page at all. I don't know why I did The Incredibles, but it is a really awesome movie. And I really like the way it turned out for the most part. There's a few things I'm a little like, I'm not sure if I like how I did that. But like overall, I think it turned out really good. So the background is done with Derwent Inktense and then color pencil on top of that. And I'm pretty sure I used like Prisma color pencils. And I feel like that really cut down the coloring part, like time-wise down. And then I didn't like just the way it looked with the Derwent Inktense. I felt like it needed to be a little bit more brighter. And then I also don't like all the texture lines that sometimes the Derwent Inktense leaves. So that is why I went over it with color pencil. But it like went on top really nicely, blended really nicely. And then I did take a blender pencil and just kind of really blend and burnish the color pencil. So yeah, that turned out really good. I really like their like outfits. I think the shading turned out really good. Like their kind of plastic, like stretchy material looks good. Okay, so the thing I'm not real happy with is the shadow on his face. I did not get the colors right on that. And I tell myself, you know, he has kind of a harsh shadow because, you know, he's probably looking into this like red or flames or something. So like fire, he needs a darker shadow. So that's what I'm telling myself anyway. And then I'm not sure I like how I did Violet and her like invisible shield. Yeah, so I think I just did a color pencil on the inside, just really lightly. And then I used these like sparkle water brush markers. The pink, let's see, I think I used that darker pink color. And so you can get a little bit of that shine there. And then I used a white Posca to outline and kind of do these like, you know, wiggly lines, almost like electricity inside. And I tried to do, instead of like a blue base, like a light gray blue base, for her black areas, I did a more purple one since she was in this purple bubble, although I didn't do it for her hair. But yeah, I think overall it's okay. All right, and then so alcohol-based marker pretty much for the base of all the characters, and then a color pencil on top, and then yeah, just those other little things there. All right, I'm doing pretty good in this book. I feel like I'm moving along in here. All right, getting down to the end. Next book is the Rita Berman's Zooland. And I did this page. There's so many like pretty spring, like Easter looking pages. But I chose to do this one. And I did it in a monochromatic color palette at first, and then at the end I decided to go with these not pink eggs. So I'm not sure how I feel about that, if I should have kept it all monochromatic. I know it does make it pop off the page, so that's a plus. All right, so I used a distress ink for the background. I did that first, and I wasn't even like careful, you know, trying to get around some of these areas. I just went right over the top of a lot of this stuff. So, because I knew I was gonna go over it with similar colors. And then I did a stencil. This is a Tim Holtz, like crackle looking stencil. So I thought that was fitting for the eggs. And then I used Tombow or like water-based markers for the base of all this, and then Black Widow color pencils for all the shading. Also some white Posca for the highlights in here, and then for the eggs I did a light layer of color pencil, just a little bit of shading in there, and then I used these Crayola. It doesn't have the name on here anymore, but I think they're like cream sticks or pearlescent cream sticks, something like that. But yeah, so really pretty colors. And yeah, you can definitely see that like shine. So yeah, that is what I used for the eggs. Yeah, I think it's pretty. I'm just not sure if it, like I said, if it fits for the page, if I should have kept it all monochromatic, but yeah, either way, it works. All right, that is it for that page. All right, the last page is going to be from Magic Hour by Karolina Kubikowska. And this is kind of my watercolor playbook. So the paper is single-sided, and it's just a nice thick cardstock. So it is not watercolor paper, but it does allow for a little bit of play with the watercolors. I used Roman Schmalz watercolor, and I just love the variations of colors that you get from the watercolor, like down and through here. I think that's so pretty. This one kind of has a granulating effect, so you get like that effect, and then when you like splash water on it, then that can create some other like texture stuff going on there. So yeah, really pretty. And then I did a light, kind of a wash first layer on the bunny, and I think on the leaves too. And then used the Inktense and went over it just to create more shadows, kind of brighten up the colors in the rabbit. I did use color pencil for the lantern and to get some of these yellows and lights around on the leaves. A white Posca and a white gel pen. Kind of been interchanging those recently. Sometimes the gel pen works better for me, sometimes the white Posca works better, but yeah, so I outlined all of those and then added the little dots. The little rings were all color pencil. Oh, and then I did use a light blue color pencil to fill in the wings and in the mushroom here. Yeah, I like the way the eye turned out too. So yeah, I'm really happy with this page. It's been fun to play with the watercolors, you know, still learning them and seeing what works best. But yeah, I'm definitely getting the hang of it. More so than my first page that I did. So anyway, that is the bunny from Magic Hour. All right, well, that is it for this month. I hope you all enjoyed. I would love to hear from you on what your favorite page or pages were this month. And I hope to be recording some videos of like all my finished pages or book collection videos, something along that line. That way I can run those over the summer. So be on the lookout for those. I also joined the Magic Dreamland Buddy Color group. So I've been working on that page and that's due in June. So I do have a few things in the works for you guys. But I wish everyone well and have a great summer. I will see you back in a few months. Bye.